Welcome back to Left Off the Map for another Taco Tuesday. We're going to get to Taco Tuesday in a little bit, but first I'm going to start off with one of my favourite dishes that I learnt while travelling through Italy. Italy, Mexico, probably my two favourite cuisines. So this episode is going to be a combination of the two. The dish is Amatriciana, which is a very, very simple Italian or very, very simple Roman dish that's basically chili and I'll talk you through the story of how it became sort of this traditional dish as we go through. So first thing you have to do is get some Italian sausage. You can use speck or bacon, which is what most people would use. You just need something that's nice and fatty. So an Italian sausage is what I've got because it adds more flavour. Salami, chorizo, that's Spanish, but doesn't matter. You just need some cured meat that's nice and fatty. And the reason why you need cured meat that's fatty is because we're going to render that fat out. Because olive oil, at the time this dish was made, olive oil was very, very, very expensive. So they couldn't use a lot of it. Instead, they would use something like this, a cured piece of meat with lots of pork fat in it. They would render that pork fat out and that would become the oil that they would cook in. So you want to cut this into a dice, and a fairly small dice, because the more surface area we have, the more of that fat we can render out. And I just think the better the texture is of the dish once all of this sausage is cooked. So I'm making sort of little battens like that. Turn it on its side, then go through it again with your knife. And you've got a little dice. And then you can run your knife through that again if you want to cut it up a little bit more. So you're not quite, it's kind of going past a dice, and it's more of trying to create a mince out of the sausage. So get all that done. Now I've done a pretty good job of that dice, but if yours is a bit chunky, you can just run your knife through it like that and break it up a little bit more. But I'm happy with that. So and you can see my hands, how shiny my hands are already because of that fat that will convert into oil at the end. This goes into a cold pan. Make sure you start it in a cold pan, because as we slowly bring the heat into the pan, that will render all that oil out. And then I want to add, at this point when it's still cool or still cold pan, I want to add my chili and my garlic now, because I want them to cook gently along with the sausage as we're extracting that oil. So I want to flavour that oil as we're cooking it. So just some thin slices. And a chili. Some good chili rounds. And this is meant to be a warm, like a spicy dish. So leave your seeds in. Unless you really don't like spice and you still want to enjoy a dish like this, then obviously you can take your seeds out. But traditionally, onion, I'm not going to add the onion. I reckon if I keep this simple, the dish will end up better. You could add an onion if you want. If you want more of that savoury flavour and a little bit of sweetness, you could add the onion and saute that down. I'm not going to. I'm just going to cook this gently, medium to low heat. All we're trying to do is coax that fat, that oil out, saute everything in that. It's not going to take very long. And then the sauce that I'm going to use to bring it all together is an arrabbiata sauce, which again is a chili-based tomato sauce. So we'll add a little bit of this, and that'll be our red sauce base. Then we'll finish off with our pasta. So I'll get this started. It's going to take probably 20 minutes to 15 minutes on a low, medium heat. Our pasta cooks in about 9. So after about 5 minutes, we're going to pop my pasta in. That's been cooking for about 10 minutes. And you can see the oil we've extracted from that Italian sausage. The smell is amazing. It's been a gentle cook. I've had it on a low heat. So now I can add before I do that, I'm going to put my pasta in. Big pinch of salt into my pasta water. And then my pasta, I'll pop that in. I need about enough for 1 to 2 serves, only about half of this box is all I'm going to need. That will take about 9 minutes. I can add my sauce now to the base of this, the arrabbiata sauce. Like I said, arrabbiata means angry in Italian. So this is like a fiery sauce, a fiery, angry chili sauce. So it's got a bit of heat. I want about, again, half the jar. And then stir those two together. You're gonna have to stir quite a bit to try and emulsify all of that oil into our sauce. It's a very luxurious pasta during a period of time when things were scarce. You wanted as much high calorie as you possibly could, so all that oil, you want to get into that pasta. So I'm going to cook this down only for about 10 minutes on a really gentle heat again. And then I'm going to drag my pasta straight from the pot into our sauce, give it a bit of a toss through, and then it's finished with a little bit of pecorino on top, and you're ready to go. Now, it's a simple, cheap, fast pasta to do, but has so much flavour because of the time you take in the beginning to extract all of that flavour and flavour that oil and then emulsify it into the sauce. It is chock-a-block full of flavour, even though it's so simple and so quick.
Been, Chanel?
I'm so good.
That's
Thanks
good.
for coming in.
Thank you very much.
It's nice to be sitting on this side of the bar with
Yes,
you instead of
it
the other
is.
side for a change.
And tell me, what have we got here?
This is Ricky's Dog and Wolf Pinot. So we've just released this one.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really nice actually.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We've just been out at the beautiful winery out at Windermere. So tell me about Ricky. Who is Ricky?
Ricky, local, born and bred. He's the man behind the brand, Two Ton Tasmania, and then also started Havilah a couple of years ago. And this space, I guess, is essentially operating as both a wine bar, but also a cellar door for the Two Ton and Havilah brands. Ricky likes to do things differently. He will always look for a different way of approaching not necessarily a problem, but just something that he wants to create. And I think having a cellar door in the city away from where actually the wines are being made was kind of something that he always imagined, I guess, would happen. I think that's not to say in the long run he wouldn't end up creating something out in the country as well, but certainly, yeah, he likes to do things differently, and so it's really wonderful to have this cellar door in the city. I guess what we imagined is that especially once people are moving around the state and also when we've got visitors coming, that we'll have, lots of wine tours finishing up here maybe. And then we can have a great fun afternoon with a group of people that have been warmed up by all the other wonderful great wine producers in Launceston in the Tamar Valley. So yeah, that's kind of what we pictured for this space. And then I guess having that wine bar just kind of makes it, a stronger offering for the business as well. Launceston hadn't had a wine space where you could sort of, dine out and create a full meal by yourself and also taste wines made by wine producers and put Tasmanian wines in context to rest of Australia and rest of the world, which is something that we certainly wanted to do. Tassie's quite famous for its sparkling wine, for Pinot Noir, even for Riesling and Chardonnay. We're good at quite a few things, and it's really lovely and kind of makes you feel really proud to be able to put the really good quality Tassie producers next to some of the best producers in the world, whether that be France or, you know, Oregon in the States, or the delicious Pinot producers, for example, and same with sparkling and Riesling and Chardonnay. So I guess the same could be said for our food as well. We've definitely got a bias towards our beautiful local producers, and there is so many to choose from. We've got some capicola there from Falkirk Farm, which is Tasmania's only charcuterie producer. Beautiful Berkshire pigs that have, beautiful loin that's been cured. And then same with our cheese, we've got some Tasmanian halloumi, which is delicious. And from Elgar Farm, which is a beautiful organic dairy producer, some of their butter case, which is a really rare cheese that you don't really find even in Europe. It's not as popular as it used to be. And yeah, we really are spoilt for choice. And I guess the intention is just to find those Tasmanian producers, surface their produce and just don't mess with it too much, because it's all so beautiful and so pure.
Yeah. So you could definitely come here, have a glass of wine, have quite a substantial meal working your way through the menu, and be able to taste wines that aren't only from Tasmania but further afar, international and interstate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Fantastic. Tell us about where you're located in Launceston.
Sure, we're on Charles Street, which is just across the road from beautiful Princes Park, so sort of on the outskirts of the CBD, about 15 minutes from where Stillwater and the water is. So it's kind of a really good spot because we're not right in the centre of town. We're surrounded by heaps of tall buildings, but we are certainly, still close to the central business district.
The locals call this area the Paris end of Charles Street, so you're in the good end of Charles Street, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful spot. We're looking forward to summer because this park across the road is just so beautiful and lovely greenery and flowers, and yeah, it's really lovely to be able to see the seasons change.
Yeah, fantastic. Chanel, tell me about where you can buy these amazing wines.
Well, we're actually a wine store as well. So you can come in and choose from Ricky's wines and also a selection of other producers, which we really admire. We've got a little bit of a bias towards grower producers. And then you can buy them online through Ricky's website, tttwine.com.au.
Fantastic. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for having us, and let's dig into this amazing food.
Let's.
What a funky, cool little bar to have in the middle of Launceston, which is where most people are going to fly into when they come into the state. So it's a great idea. Get off your plane, go along to Havilah, have a bite, have a drink, and set up your little expedition of Tasmania. Well, like I said before, it's Taco Tuesday. So we're not doing tacos on this Taco Tuesday, but we are staying with the Mexican theme. One of the dishes I ate when I was in Mexico that I absolutely loved, we went to a fish market and we had a dish called aguachille. I'm going to make that for you now. I'm going to make my version of aguachille. It's sort of like a ceviche. Ceviche is based around citrus and lots of citrus. This is more so based around oil. So we're going to make a flavoured oil. So I'm going to use my chili spice and my prawns to flavour my oil. So the first thing I want to do is peel my prawns. So just grab hold of the body, pinch the head and twist. And you'll take the head off. Then just peel the shell off the prawn body. I'll take the legs off first, and then you'll be able to get underneath those legs and peel the rest of the prawn. Now you can get prawn peelers. And if you've ever been to a sort of food and wine show, they've always got prawn peelers there, which work pretty well. Take the tail off. So you want every bit of shell that you can get to be in this little mound here. Same thing again, hold the body, twist the head. So much of the flavour of crustacean, of prawns, is in the shell. In fact, I'd say 90% of the flavour comes from the shell. You can always tell if a prawn's been cooked in its shell. So we're going to get that real crustacean flavour in. If you're making a bisque or something like that, or even a prawn stock, then you would use the shells to extract all that flavour. So don't waste the shells. Even if you're not making this dish, hold on to the shells and use them to make a stock or even just a a flavoured oil for some other use. One more. What we're going to do once we get all our prawns peeled, we're going to pop them into a pan and cover them with some olive oil and just gently simmer them. That, with our chili spice mix, will create our chili oil or our chili prawn oil. It'll be a beautiful colour. We'll cook off those spices that are in our spice mix and end up with a beautiful flavoured oil. So all of my prawn shells go in. Keep the veins out because I don't want those in there. So onto a medium heat. My oil. Got about 1/4 cup of oil for this dish. If you could put 1/2 cup in and then reserve some of the oil for another use. About 1/4 cup. My spice mix. My chili spice mix. About 1/4 packet to 1/3 packet. And then just going to let this tick over and let that oil take on all the flavour of that chili and those prawns. So that's going to take about 10 minutes. Just want to drain this oil. So I've got a beautiful orange flecks of spices through it, oil, which hasn't been, it's really important that you don't cook it at a really high temperature because you'll burn the spices. We just want to gently cook those spices so they don't become bitter. They still are nice and fresh. They smell fresh, they're aromatic, they taste fresh, they don't have that bitterness to them when you burn a spice. All right, so we'll finish the dish now. We need an avocado and some citrus. So lemon or lime. Avocado. I'm just going to make a fan. So cutting inside the skin, you want to cut about 2 or 3 mils down each side. So a few mils, then run your spoon underneath the flesh and just peel it out of the skin. Then I'm going to take half of this half. So I'm going to take 1/4 of avocado. You see how it's all fanned out? Place that in the middle of your plate. Your prawns, place them around your avocado. And then you've got your oil to dress it with. You just pour some oil on top of each avocado, each prawn is what I meant to say, so it gets nicely coated. And then dress the rest of the plate. And then just to help cut through that, a little bit of citrus. I'm not going to squeeze the citrus on there now. It's something that you would do when you're eating it. So you grab up the prawn with the oil, you would squeeze a little bit on top and eat it with your a slice of avocado. So I'm just going to sit that there. And just to freshen that up, I've just got a little bowl of micro herbs here. Just grab a few of those and pop them around your prawns. And this obviously is just for looks. And it's going to add a little bit of freshness with the crunch and the freshness of the little micro herbs. But it's mainly just for a little bit of colour on your plate. And there we go. My take on aguachille. It's a little bit different to what we had in Mexico, but it's the same, I guess, idea of chili I'm using oil instead of water, but flavouring water, oil, flavouring something that goes on top of your seafood. So I've gone for an Old El Paso chili flavoured oil, whereas in Mexico we had a chili, cucumber and red onion flavoured water with a little bit of citrus at the end. Either way, it's a great dish. Try it at home, very, very simple, great with fresh seafood. You could do it instead of using prawns, crayfish, spanner crab, any of those sort of crustacean type seafoods, you could try it with. So that's my take on aguachille from Mexico, converted into an Old El Paso aguachille. I'm not going to be able to call it aguachille. What's the word for oil? Oil chile, that'll do.